Welcome to a time capsule film called The Future. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sarah. We have teamed up with Tate Community Music and Film and the Colwyn Bay Heritage Group to make a film about a time capsule for Colwyn Bay.
Here are some of the ideas of what people think Colwyn Bay will look like when you are watching this. What is your opinion on Colwyn Bay?
I think it's seen better days. In fact, I'm old enough to remember when Colwyn Bay was one of the premier resorts in North Wales. And in the summer you couldn't move on the beach for people. And in those days there weren't many cars, so people used to come by train and coach mostly. And they used to run a little shuttle service, little runabout buses used to run you from one end of the promenade, Old Colwyn, all the way to Rose Pier, at Rose-on-Sea. Rose Pier, by the way, disappeared finally in 1953 in a storm.
Personally, I think it's quite boring. There's not much to do. And most of the time, I spend my time in work in Abergele, or I go to Rhyl or Llandudno instead, because there's lots of shops there.
Colwyn Bay is a quiet sort of town. It's not as thriving as it used to be when I was younger. I suppose it's struggling along, I think that's the best way to describe it.
There's not much going on. It's quite quietish.
I like it because there's lots of activities and stuff to do. The schools they have, the good schools they have and everything.
It definitely needs to be regenerated. I think they need to spend some money to make it look nicer.
What do you like doing on the weekend? Do you have any hobbies?
Not now, I'm getting a bit older. Used to play quite a lot of snooker. Used to do quite a lot of travelling, but don't do either so much these days. A quiet life, I think that's to describe it.
Most of the time I have to work, so I don't really do much, but apart from that, sometimes I go to pizza Hut with my best friend Sarah, or we go to see a movie.
Listening to music, walking, entertaining my visitors.
Yeah.
Not really, just out with friends.
What do you
Watch a
do with
film.
friends?
Watch a film.
Well, I work quite a lot in the week, so at the weekends I like to relax, go walking, do a bit of craft, art stuff.
Very nice. I like dancing. And
You like dancing? What do you like
I
doing?
don't know. I just do whatever comes up.
Do you not have any hobbies?
I like playing football.
Football.
I'm a musician, so I do lots of music on the weekends. I play guitar and I do some recording. But I'm also really like cycling, so I spend my weekends cycling along the coast of North Wales on my bike.
What do you think Colwyn Bay will be like in 50 years' time?
Well, I hope a lot better than it is today. I hope it'll be more prosperous than it is today. I don't think it'll ever get back to what it was, because times change. But it could be a prosperous town again.
I'm not really sure. I think it will be quite run down, and I think that lots of people will be dead, and that it'll be like a ghost town.
Why is that?
Because I think people will just get wiped out because everything's trying to advance too fast, and it'll just tumble down on the world because we'll run out of natural resources, so everyone will just die.
Well, if the trend of the last 50 years is anything to go by, it will probably continue to decline slowly, but I hope that doesn't happen.
I think it'll probably be a bit more going on, a bit nicer looking, hopefully.
Well, as someone who grew up in Colwyn Bay, I really hope that Colwyn Bay sees lots of positive changes and improvements. And I'd like to think that in Colwyn Bay in 50 years' time is really vibrant, and there's lots of things going on in the promenade and at the town centres, busy with lots of nice shops and lots of activities for people to do.
maybe like lots of skyscrapers made of glass. That would be cool.
Do you think a time capsule is a good way of preserving the history of Colwyn Bay?
Well, it's a record, isn't it? It's important to keep a record.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way. As long as the things that you put in it will preserve at that amount of time, then it'll be quite good.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to be able to look back at a set date and be like, oh, that's what it was like then and how we've progressed.
Definitely, I think it was a great idea that the young people came up with, and I'm really pleased that the project's going ahead, and I think it can only be a positive thing.
I like the idea that you can put anything in as well. We can, it doesn't really matter what you put in there. You can put just really random stuff, and people will find it in 50 years' time and think, what is that? I've never seen anything like that before.
Do you think time travel will be available in 2061 or other technologies?
I wouldn't know.
No, I don't think time travel will be available. I think that's a bit of a silly idea. I think that history and past should just stay there. I don't think people should be able to go and tamper with things that have already happened. And I think that's sort of something that's probably impossible, because I don't believe in parallel worlds and things. And I think that technology will probably still be the same, but the softwares and the things on them will just advance. I don't think that the actual things will advance much more than they already have, unless they just get thinner or fatter or something like that.
Well, plenty of technologies, but time travel, I should say, definitely not.
Any reasons why?
Well, it's impossible to turn back the clock, and it's impossible to predict the future. So time goes on, it's a natural thing which will happen whether we're here or not, and I don't think there's anything anybody can do about that.
I don't think so. Kind of hope not. People might want to mess around with stuff that's happened.
I think it'd be great if it does. Just imagine that. It'd be amazing to be able to go back in time and see where the age is and see what's happened. It'd be great if it was available.
What sort of clothes do you wear?
Well, I wear a suit very often for formal occasions, but I'm very keen on sports jackets and more or less traditional clothes,
Trainers.
Do you like to wear dresses, Christine?
Yeah. And bright orange or bright red tops.
I like orange too. I think it stands out, doesn't it?
I'm going to do the stuff.
Cool.
Casual, comfortable, that's about the worst way of describing it, 90% of the time. Dress up when it's necessary, but otherwise I dress just as I am now.
T-shirt and jeans.
And the outfit that you've got on now, is that your full uniform?
Yeah, same as yours.
Lots. I'm renowned for having lots and lots of clothes. That's how everyone knows me. Lots of clothes and lots of shoes.
I don't like wearing things with names on. I don't like clothes with names on. But I really like tweed. I haven't got any tweed on today, but I've got tweed upstairs, and it's kind of like old-fashioned. It's clothes made out of wool. I really like that.
How do you think people will travel around in 2061?
I think there'll be quite a few electric cars about.
I'm not sure. Probably just I think that everywhere will get sort of an underground sort of thing, like London. That'll probably start to come. And I think that they'll make buses bigger and wider, and that they'll probably make things a lot more faster and quicker than just every half an hour. But it depends really where you are. If you're in a city, transport will probably be a lot better than if you're somewhere where there's not a lot of people.
Well, there's a big trend at the moment for what they call green travel. But any type of mechanically propelled vehicle is going to consume energy. It's got to be produced. So I don't know. I think if they want to be as green as possible, people have to go back to cycling and walking, I think. Whether that will happen, I don't know. I can't see if there's any way of developing. They might develop more fuel economic forms of transport, but I think there's a limit to that.
I think there'd probably be, hopefully, a lot more public transport, so people don't have to use as much of fuels on their own, which might not even be around then. Probably not.
Well, personally, I'd like to think that people are walking more or cycling more, because I don't think that we can carry on the way we are with all the amount of cars on the road.
I think it'll be the same,
It'll be the same.
but a bit more aeroplanes and trains and tunnels.
That's cool. What about you?
More mix of cars and less buses, maybe.
Less buses. Do you not like buses?
No.
I don't like buses. I like
Me?
buses.
I like buses, but not that much as cars.
I like the ones that are like double-decker buses because they're cool.
Yeah.
I think there'll be hover cars.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you think music will be like in the future?
Well, I hope it's a bit more melodious than lot of modern music today. I hope there'll be a lot more melody. Very important to me,
Probably music you'll always get someone trying to come into the charts, and most of the time now it's people who want to rap about everyday life things or things like that. I think more like classical music and things like that will die out through time, because people, like older generations are going to die, and then the newer generations are bringing in rock, pop, hip hop and urban music, so just depends really. Unless you keep a vinyl, then I'm pretty sure that everything like that will die out.
Well, I think music now is much less melodic than it used to be. Much more rhythmic. I think rhythm seems to be more important than the actual melody. And I don't know, that may continue, but what it will be like, I don't know. Noisy, I think that's the best way to describe it.
There's certain elements that have stayed present. I think that, I don't know, I can't imagine things getting, I don't know.
What sort of music do you like listening to now?
I like folk and country music.
And what is your favourite artist?
I like Laura Marling.
I don't know, I think there's only so much you can do, so it'd be nice to see some of the old style music come back.
Do you both like music?
So, yes.
So,
I like music.
what sort of music do you like, Christina?
All kinds of music.
Do you not like any music, Josh?
Pop music.
Pop music. Do you have a favourite band?
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. What about you, Christina?
Katy Perry.
I like Katy Perry. Do you think music will change over time?
A bit.
A bit. What?
Don't know.
Well, I guess I've got quite high hopes for the music in the future, because I'm a musician now, but I think in the future music will become a little bit more electronic, so it'll just be, instead of like when you go and see live music, there's lots of instruments like guitars and drums and stuff on stage. I think it's just going to be just computers and people interacting with computers. Yeah, I don't think there'll be any instruments. I think it'll just be electronic music.
What is your favourite shop in Colwyn Bay and why?
The tobacconist stuck with us,
And why?
because I'm a pipe smoker of 50 years standing.
My favourite shop has to be Primark, but it's not. There isn't one around here. But if I had to choose a favourite shop around here, probably be Peacock's, because I always get 40% off vouchers off my friends, and it's quite cheap then to go shopping there.
I don't know that I have a favourite shop. I use plenty of shops.
Which shops do you use then in Colwyn Bay at the moment?
Should I use? Morrison's, Iceland, many of the shops in the precinct, Smith's in Station Road, Arundale's in Station Road, one or two in Old Colwyn, various shops like that.
Home Bargains.
Do you like that new shop that's just opened? The one with the DVDs and the technology?
Yeah, it's cheap in there, so it's pretty good.
Home Bargains, because I just always get great stuff in there, but I also like Rooms and Blooms because I like going to get buy tea in there, lots of nice different types of tea.
I don't really shop in Colin Bay. The shop I've been to the most is the guitar shop on Crewe Road, which is by the police station. A guy there called David, and he fixes guitars, and he's fixed my guitars a couple of times, so I guess that would be my favourite shop.
What do you think of social networking sites and which ones do you use?
I like social. I don't like Facebook. I like Twitter. But that's purely because there's not as many people that we know on there, so you don't have to tone down the things you say as much. You can rant on there a little bit.
I'm a bit old-fashioned. I don't go on any social networking sites because I spend so much time in the week on the computer at work that I try not to go on it too much outside of work.
I've got Messenger. That's it.
Oh, cool. I think that they are a really good idea for keeping in contact with people, and I think that they're quite interesting because people who, when they were younger, they didn't have something like this, have now got them. They can get in touch with people. But I think for like the younger society, it's just a way of people going on somewhere and bitching about people and being horrible and cyberbullying. So that sort of thing, I think it's really bad. But then in other ways, I use them like Facebook and Twitter. I think they're really good. I think Facebook is for people who just want to post things that don't really need to be posted and mess about and just hit out at people. But I think like Twitter's more about following famous people and trying to be noticed, and just think Twitter's more to post about what you do and where you're doing it. Whereas, and it's you follow people you don't know. And I think Facebook's more for like friends and people to just hit out at other people most of the time, unless you're older.
I think things like Facebook and Twitter are they've got like two sides to them. There's one side which I think is really cool where people can keep in touch with one another. It doesn't matter where in the world they are, you know, and it's free as well because, you know, all you have to do is get on the internet. But then I think with like the evolution of Facebook and Twitter and stuff, then like things like this, like cyberbullying and things like that, you know, where it's just another platform for people to be nasty to one another. I don't really use any of them. I've got some of my music online, but on like YouTube and MySpace, but I don't really use Facebook and Twitter much.
What do you think the life expectancy will be in 2061?
Well, I think there'll be more centenarians about. Pretty sure of that.
Hopefully not much longer really than it is.
Why?
I think it'd be different if everyone was as, you know, still living, because you'd be with people that you loved, but I think if you outlived people that wouldn't be a great feeling.
It'll probably be increasing slowly over the years. I mean, we're all living longer than about an average, certainly longer than our grandparents. And I'm sure you will live possibly longer than your grandparents, but I think the progress will decrease, it'll slow down so that there won't be such dramatic increases as there have been over the last 100 years or so.
Our life expectancy will probably go down, but I think it'll go down anyway because with fast food and everything now, everyone's like dying out anyway of obesity. And recently there was an article in the paper about a woman wanting to be the fattest woman in the world, and she's increasing her diet to eat so she can get in the World's Guinness Book of Records. So I think that society is just going downhill anyway, so I think that they'll just be adding to it and just making it go downhill faster like they normally do.
Wow.
Well, everyone's living longer, so I don't know, I'm sure it'll definitely surpass what it is at the moment.
I think maybe in 50 years' time people will be able to live forever. But I'm hoping that's the case.
How do you think sport will change?
Well, I like to think it'll be less commercial, but I don't think it will be.
Can't really imagine it changing that much. I think it's been the same for so long.
Well, professional sport, I think eventually with that the bubble will have to burst sometime. When that will happen, I don't know. But for ordinary sport, I'm sure people continue playing games and sports in much the same way as they do now.
Oh, I'd like to think football was still around as it is because I'm quite a big football fan. It'd be nice to see more different sporting activities and facilities in Colwyn Bay.
How do you think sport will change over time?
I don't think it'll change at all.
You don't think it'll change? What
I
about you,
think there'll
Christina?
be more sports.
More sports, such as you.
I'm not quite sure, but I think there's going to be a lot more sports.
Generally, people are a lot more unhealthy now than they were before, so not lots of people do sport really. So I don't know, maybe there won't be so much sport around. Maybe people will be doing like less kind of like sport activities and more things to do with your brain rather than your body. Yeah.
Recently in Wales, we have started paying for bags. What other environmental changes do you think will happen?
Not too many, I hope.
I think it'd be good if people travel together a bit more instead of unnecessarily, using so much fuel, and I think just people be a bit more aware of what's going on.
Hopefully lots, because there's only so much we can carry on as we are. I think the carrier bag charge thing is a great thing for Wales to be leading the way on. But I think, like I said before about cars, using our cars less and using more public transport and walking and cycling and things like that are really important. And I think the wind farm as well, and that's really going to change things in the next few years in Colwyn Bay.
Well, I think by the time that people unearth the time capsule, then most of the Earth's natural resources like gas and oil and things probably would have dried up. So I'm thinking that in the future we'll have like less kind of a negative impact on the world, and it'll be more things like renewable energy, like wind power and solar power. And I think there'll be cars and like vehicles and stuff, hover cars running on electricity, and hover cars running on solar power from solar panels, and like the big buildings, like I said, big buildings made of glass, so they absorb the sun during the day, so they don't need any central heating. So I think in the future people will be a lot more aware of how to harness natural resources rather than using fossil fuels, which are eventually going to run out.
And what kind of jobs do you think will exist in the future?
Oh, I think they'll be more highly skilled and technical, The modern technologies, people are going to have to be more highly skilled, aren't they?
Yeah.
Better equipped,
Yeah.
Better educated.
Robots can take over the world. And I think that the jobs that there will be very little. It'll be like managing the robots and making sure that they're all right, looking after them. Apart from that, I think that everyone will just turn into people who just sit at home. Bums, that's the one.
A lot of technology jobs to do with computers and that sort of thing, but I'm sure all the ordinary jobs will still exist. People will have to work in shops and work on the railways and work on transport and in broadcasting, all sorts of things like that. But I don't see it's going to be a great change. Still need doctors and nurses, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably.
I think a lot of jobs probably won't need to be done in the future if technology advances in the way that it is. So I think people have to be a bit more clever about creating new opportunities for themselves.
I think that will depend on what the changes are in Colwyn Bay. If we've got more tourists coming back to the town, if we've got more activities taking place on the waterfront and more shops in the town, then hopefully there will be more job opportunities for people in the local area. I think that's really hopefully a positive thing to come out of the changes that are happening.
I think some jobs will be done by robots, because some jobs you don't really need like people to do that kind of stuff. Robots can do them. So I'm thinking that maybe the jobs around in the future will be more specific. Like there'll be less kind of general jobs, but more specialist jobs, like technical jobs, probably to do with electronics, like computers and things like that.
I hope you enjoy our take in 2061, and hope that our watch watch it as well as you at the same time. Bye. Thank you for watching our film. Hope you enjoyed it. Hi to everyone in 2061. Bye.